Thank you, guys. That's beautiful. Well, there's an old joke that probably you've heard a million times, and it's about this young monk. In medieval times, this young monk arrives in a monastery, and he's assigned to helping the other monks copy the old canons and laws from the church by hand. And he notices that all the monks are copying from copies, not from the original manuscript. And so the new monk goes to the head abbot to question this, pointing out that if someone even made a small error in the first copy, it would never be picked up. In fact, the error would be continued in all of the subsequent copies. So the head monk said, well, we've been copying from copies for thousands or centuries, really, but you make a good point, my son. So he goes down into the dark caves underneath the monastery where the original manuscripts are held in archives in a locked vault that hasn't been opened for 100 years. And hours go by and nobody sees the old abbot. So the monk gets worried and he goes down to look for him. And he finds the abbot banging his head against the wall, crying uncontrollably and shouting the words, "We missed the R, we missed the R." The young monk asks the old abbot, "What's wrong, Father?" And with a choking voice, the old abbot replies, "The word was celebrate." Now, can you imagine if this story was actually true? That some monk in ancient times made a typo so that centuries of priests and nuns were forced not to celebrate, but to be celibate. And the thing is that words matter. And this may very well be the first meme of 2021 as we consider the stark reality of what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. You know, after months of lying about the election to his followers, the former president of the United States and his allies incited a violent coup to overthrow the election and stay in power by their words, words that had consequences, words that emboldened racists and neo-Nazis and white supremacists, words that erupted into violent action, destroying life and property and threatening the very foundation of our democracy. I don't often refer to the book of Proverbs in the Bible, but there are several Proverbs that really nail this. From chapter 18, life and death are in the power of the tongue. From chapter 15, the soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit. And from verse 11, or chapter 11, with their mouths the godless destroy their neighbors, but through knowledge the righteous escape. And Jesus speaks about the power of words in Matthew chapter 12, verse 36. He says, "And I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof on the day of judgment. For by your words you are justified, and by your words you will be condemned." Now, our interpretation of this passage in Unity is that the judgment day isn't a point in time, but is constantly occurring as a point of a reckoning of the universal law of cause and effect. So it's not that we're called up to some God in the sky to face God, to answer for our words, or even that God could or would ever condemn us, but rather that we must experience the outworking of spiritual law. It's unavoidable because words matter. And our words have consequences. So take a look at this from Maya Angelou, and if we could show that film of Maya.
I don't know anyone who understands the power of words more than Maya Angelou. I've been in her home at a party, and someone telling a homophobic joke or making fun of someone in a derogatory way, and watched her invite them to leave or stop them in mid-sentence and say, "Not in my house, you won't."
Words are things, I'm convinced. You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. In the Old Testament, we are told in Genesis that in the beginning was the Word, And the Word was God, and the Word was with God. That's in Genesis. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that. Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Words matter. Words matter. So it's important to pay attention to what we're saying, to pay attention to the words that we speak. And right speech was essential to Buddha. That's included in the Eightfold Path to Enlightenment as an injunction to refrain from lying, refrain from divisive speech, refrain from harsh words, and refrain from gossiping. Now, for those of us who have been studying unity teachings for a number of years, we're familiar with ideas that words are powerful, that words matter, that we create our reality through our thoughts and through our words. What are thoughts really? Thoughts are streams of subvocal words, right? So Maya Angelou referred to the book of Genesis, where in the beginning, God speaks creation into existence. In a way, a very real way, that's what we do as well. We speak creation into existence with our words. In the book of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But how do we understand this, and how do we practically apply it in our own lives? Well, one of my favorite unity authors is Eric Butterworth. He writes in his book, Practical Metaphysics, that it's amazing that the teaching of metaphysics, there's a tendency to deal with the power of thought, the work of the subconscious mind, and self-image psychology with the imagination and feeling. These things are very important and very helpful, yet we completely overlook this very important matter of speech. A person may deal with truths of mystic power and still allow a steady stream of negations to fall unchecked from his lips. It's much like driving your car with the brakes on. And I had this experience just yesterday. Me and Rita Robinson, our exceptional bookkeeper, and several board members, we went to Bank of America to update our bank signatures for the church. And when we were finished, one of the board members asked me how I was doing. And I responded, I'm struggling with the talk. Now here I was, steeped in the ideas. I've already been working on it, so I was steeped in the ideas for this talk today, which are all about the power of the word, the importance of watching what we say and how we say it, because words matter. And I heard myself saying, I'm struggling with the talk. I'm struggling with the talk. Now, could I have responded in some other way? How about, I'm having the great opportunity to engage in an intellectual exercise of having a greater understanding of the power of words. Or how about this? I'm doing great, really being challenged by some wonderful ideas and how to apply them. Now, this might seem nitpicky to you. The truth of it is I often struggle with the process of writing a talk. I hope it doesn't come across that way, but I struggle with the process of writing a talk. I question everything. I want to be sure that I believe when I'm speaking, that it's relevant and in integrity, that it hopefully makes a difference and offers maybe some hope or some inspiration, or even challenges one's ideas and beliefs. So when the board member asked me how I was doing, the challenge was to answer truthfully in a way that truly reflects my experience, and yet is positive, constructive, and life-affirming, not affirming struggle. I mean, why would we want to ever affirm struggle? And really not even to impress them, but really to keep myself in the flow of consciousness. So Eric Butterworth uses a formula. He offers it to us. And the formula is the initials LSGBS. LSGBS. Let something good be said. Let something good be said. In any situation, let something of the God principle, something of the creative logo, something of the one presence be articulated so that you can keep your flow and stay related and in focus with divine process. So I might have said to that board member, so far, I've been struggling with this talk, but I can see it becoming easier and more focused as I listen to my inner guidance. Can you feel the difference? See the difference? Is it easy to be vigilant about the words that we speak and always be conscious of the source and power from which they come? Well, like most things spiritual, harnessing and taking responsibility for the power of our words takes wakefulness and mindfulness and attention and intention. So no, not necessarily easy. Butterworth calls ignoring the recognition of the power of words being verbally permissive. And being verbally permissive means that when we say things we don't mean, or we speak without thinking, or we say things that are hurtful to another person, or when we forget the immense power that we have within us, the immense power of our creative word. So I think, like many truth students, we sometimes fall into the trap of thinking that it's enough to just repeat affirmations and expect there to be a positive outcome. But the thing is that affirmations are not magical incantations. We don't say affirmations to make things true, and they're not going to be true just because we say them. We say affirmations anchored in feeling, anchored in faith, imagination, belief, with the power of spirit or logos, or however we conceptualize source energy or higher power. Because then, if we do that, then our words contain and express the vibratory power of the universe. And Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, writes in Christian Healing that the spoken word carries vibrations through the universal ether and also moves the intelligence inherent in every form, animate or inanimate. So we should be speaking words of truth to everything, not only to mankind, but to the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms. I know many of you are familiar with the work of Masaru Emoto. He wrote a book called The Hidden Messages in Water. And his theory was that human consciousness could affect the molecular structure of water. And he demonstrated this by studying the effects of words upon crystalline forms of water. So I want to show you some examples of that, if we could go to those slides. So notice some of these images. From Mozart, Imagine, by John Lennon, Love. These two are kind of interesting. This is Fumera is a river before prayer, and then if you look right below it, after prayer was said. And the other thing to notice is this one here, I will kill you. If you notice and look at the center of that image, it almost looks like there's a guy almost with a gun. He looks like it's horrible, right? Quite a difference from the other crystals. Thank you, Mozart, Imagination, Peace. Can we go to the next slide? These are some more. Wisdom, truth, eternal, angel. Look at the one that says, you fool. Look at the one that says, evil. And the one that says, you make me sick. And this is another example of polluted water before prayer, and then saying a prayer over the water, and then this was after the prayer. It's quite fascinating. So I want to show you another example of this. This is another variation of the work that uses rice instead of water. So if you go to that film clip.
So let me tell you about an interesting experiment that our family conducted. Last April, a friend of mine told me about this really intriguing and slightly weird, well, okay, it's really weird, experiment, and I couldn't wait to try it. She told us to boil white rice, but instead of eating it for dinner, she told us to put it into glass canning jars. So we filled the jars with this cooked rice about halfway full. And then after tightly twisting on the lids, we labeled the jars in permanent marker. One we labeled love, and the other one we labeled hate. And we put the jars in 2 different rooms. And every day we would talk to the jars as they were labeled. We would go into the love jar and we would say things like, "You are the prettiest white rice. We love you. We are so happy you came to our house." And then, using our meanie head voices, we would say to the hate jar, "You are ugly. We wish you didn't live here. You're going to turn brown." Well, admittedly, it was a little weird to talk to rice. But after just 6 days, the hate rice started to develop black, yucky, moldy spots on the bottom, while the love jar was as white and fluffy as the day that we started. Amazed by what was happening, we continued being rice whisperers. And after 2 months of talking to the rice, the love jar was just as white and fluffy as the first day, but the hate jar had become a soupy, disgusting mini swamp. You couldn't even make out one of the grains of rice. Words did that. Not heat, not cold, not stirring, shaking, turning, mixing. Words. Unkind words. It was like a crazy science experiment. And it can actually be explained scientifically. The rapid oscillation of the larynx when not experiencing dysphonia carries through the amorphous and optically transparent jar into the dihydrogen monoxide in the aryza sativa. Duh. Or in other words, the vibrations of our voice carried through the glass jar into the water in the rice, and the rice responded. But it was a real eye-opener to our family, from the 7-year-old to the 42-year-old, that words matter. An unkind word can linger in the mind, replayed over and over. Fortunately, so can a word of praise and a word of encouragement. Elder Holland said, "Words are sacred and must be spoken with care and by constraint of the Spirit." Words matter.
Words have power. Words matter. And that's why and how the New Thought pioneers like the Fillmores and Ernest Holmes understood the power of words to heal any condition. Myrtle Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, wrote in How to Let God Help You. She wrote, "The visible universe is the externalization of thoughts. Hence, in reality, man's higher self is spiritual. He is life and intelligence expressed. He thinks, and his thoughts become objective as forms," right? Words are things. These forms are many grades of density, or as the physical scientists would say, many grades of molecular vibration. The real man or woman is not any one of these forms. He, she is the force that causes the forms to exist. And when he or she knows this, every phase of phenomenal life comes under his or her dominion. So you've heard this before. If you want to change your life, change your thoughts, change your words, change your beliefs. This is the basis of mental and spiritual healing. It's the basis of manifesting the life that you yearn to live deeply from your heart of hearts. And Charles Fillmore wrote and felt so strongly about this, that man has the power to deny and dissolve all disintegrating, discordant, and disease-forming words. He said that knowledge of this fact is the greatest discovery of all ages. No other revelation from God to man is to be compared with it. That is a powerful statement from Fillmore. Can you imagine? No other revelation from God, nothing can be compared to the fact that you have the power to dissolve disintegrating, discordant, and disease-forming words. He said, you can make yourself a new creature and you can build the world about you to your highest ideals. Do not fear, but speak to the law supreme. That means the God of your understanding. Speak to the law supreme, the desires of your heart. This is interesting. He says, if your word is selfish, that which will come to you through its use will be unsatisfactory, but you will profit by the experience and thus learn to speak words of righteousness only. So even if we mess up and say words that are not useful and that are harmful, that are selfish, we still get to learn from the experience. That's an opportunity and a blessing to learn. He says it's your duty as the expresser of divine law to speak forth the Logos, the Word of God, and cause the Garden of Eden, the everywhere present mind substance, to manifest for you and in you as innate perfection. So that's a pretty tall responsibility, don't you think? That it's our duty to express divine law, to speak forth the Logos, the very Word of God. And Butterworth calls this saying what you are listening to. Saying what you are listening to. This is a play on what we usually hear, which is just the opposite. Listen to what you're saying, right? Listen to what you're saying. But Butterworth says instead, saying what you're listening to implies that you've actually stopped to listen before you speak. Listen to what? Well, listen to what is the infinite process. What is the creative Logos, divine mind, inner guidance, intuition? What is it wanting to express through you? In a manner that's constructive and life-supporting, that supports life all around you, that supports your own growth and evolution. So do you think it's possible? Do you think that you could have the discipline to put into words only those things that you want to see manifest in your life? It would mean paying attention to what we attach our I am to. You know, those times when we say to ourselves or someone else, things like, I am so stupid. I am such an idiot. I am so tired. My back is killing me, or fill in the blank. My blank is killing me, right? Do we really want our back to be killing us? I don't think so. I think it's possible to do this without being Pollyannish, you know. When we were in seminary, the husband of one of our instructors worked at the Unity Village Chapel. And if you walked by this guy and you asked him how he was doing, he would always say, magnificent. Now, even now, I have a bit of a cynical streak in me. Believe me, I'm working on it. But it was hard for me to imagine that this guy always felt magnificent in every moment. But now I think, years later, I think, good on him, you know, good on him for using the power of his mind, the power of his thoughts, the power of his words to affirm his choice to be magnificent. That was his choice. And with this power of choice, we can exercise LSGBS formula. Let something good be said. Recognize that your words have power, that your words are causal, creating effects that can be far-reaching and life-altering. And as you know, and as you can be sure, that what we sow, we shall reap. This is the law of mind action at work. So the results of our words unavoidably come back to us. So I'll close with an affirmation that's written by Ernest Holmes from The Science of Mind. It's called My Word Comes Back to Me. And Ernest Holmes writes, my word comes back to me laden with the fruits of its own speech. My word is the law unto my life, and the law unto everything that I speak. O word, go forth and heal and bless all humanity. Tell them of their divine birthright. Tell the stranger that he is not alone, but that one goes with him who knows and cares. Tell the sick that they are healed, and the poor that they cannot want. Tell the unhappy of the joy of the soul, and break the bonds of those who are in prison. My word shall come back to me, blessed of God and man. So let's prepare for meditation, and we'll have a song, and then Patricia will lead us in meditation.
always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. So if you haven't already, go ahead and close your eyes if that feels good to you. And as we do so, let us rest for a moment in the magnificence of our connection with Spirit. We are Spirit expressing on this earth. And so as you go within to feel the ever beating heart, the breath that flows so easily in and out of your body, these are signs of Spirit that has given us life, life eternal. Resting in that place of pure potential. We are alert now to the awesome power that we possess of our word that flows from the center of our being, our word that is a vibration of Spirit in and through us. What an awesome possibility and responsibility to bring forth the essence of that communication from deep within us. So we'll take a moment now to simply center in that possibility. And as we come forth, we will say what we are listening to. We'll stop right now and listen for what is ours to express this day through this meditation time, stopping for a moment to listen in the silence. in this time, we ask, what is mine to express? What is mine, as if I can proclaim through my own words, through my own instrument of voice and being? What is mine to express? We connect now to that divine source within. We listen and we allow ourselves to speak in our thoughts a phrase, a word, a sentence that comes from that deep inner knowing, from that deepest place within us, the place of poets and songwriters, the place of great proclamations. I ask you to listen and then to hear. And perhaps you may even wish to jot down the phrase, the sentence, the words that come to you. Take a moment in the silence to let them come forth. We remember that our words do matter, and that every word that we bring forth comes back to me. I know that my words can bless and heal all those that are in the range of my speaking, thoughts, and writing. It is an amazing power. And we rely again on our I am statements to bring forth the highest and best from us. Some examples are I am one with spirit. I am a light in this world. I am filled with the potential of the Christ. I now see the situation. I see it right. I am healed at depth. I am filled with radiant, healing light flowing through every particle and part of my being. My mind is one with the creative impulse of the word. The words that I now express fill my room, fill my home, are written on the walls, on the rugs, on my clothes, on my being. These words go forth to bless me and all who enter my space. The power of my word is mighty to heal and bless. Take another moment in the silence to choose your phrase, to choose a few phrases if you wish, to know the power of what it is that you are creating now through your word, thought, belief in the silence. Today, right now, we have planted seeds in the garden of our soul. Through our power of our word, we have made ourselves a new creature, one filled with light and promise and possibility. We have said, good. We have spoken it into existence. And it has come back to us. And now we take all that we have learned from this lesson, from this meditation. We take all of this back with us now to this time and place. And so I invite you to begin to return your consciousness to where you are, to breathe more deeply, to begin to stretch your arms, your hands, your legs, your feet, being fully refreshed and fully returned. And when you are ready, simply open your eyes, the new creature that you are. And so it is. Amen.